Welcome back to another edition of the RPO College Football Podcast, your favorite podcast. And I am your humble host, Jerome Jones, and I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend. You already know by his shirt. Show it, show it, show it, show it, show it, show it, show it. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ray Roberts. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, Jerome. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I don't know if you can tell, Ray. Every week I'm getting excited, more and more excited because the season is almost here. We in training camp for NFL. We got the college football training camps about to start and camps and stuff like that. I don't know if it might have already started actually. Might have already started actually.
Training
Um,
did start yesterday, basically.
yes, they started. High school football here in Georgia is about to start in 2-3 weeks. I am super excited. Ray, how are you feeling right now?
The same as you, Jerome. We are literally a 1 month away from today
Hmm.
from the start
Yes,
of college football season.
yes, and I love this feeling. I love this part and the feeling because you start to feel like news start ramping up and things are starting to happen and stuff starting to be things starting to ramp up as far as news and what to talk about. We had a ton of NFL news the last couple of days. College football is about to start, like I said. So, and like I said, Georgia, home of high school football. I don't care what anybody say. Georgia's top three at least. If you don't agree with top, give me top three. Top three high school football states in the country, in my opinion. So I really do think that it's a very exciting time for me, for everybody that's gonna be on the field and all that. So let's get right into it because I don't want to be rambling on about my feelings. We want to talk about some college football. And that's what you guys are here to listen to and see us do. So we're going to talk about some college football. And if you guys don't already know, we are talking about the 2023 to 2024 season. We're talking about teams and how they're going to be doing, how we think they're going to fare this upcoming season. And if you guys already know, if you haven't seen some of our previous teams, go on there and definitely check them out. We're going to be talking about some good teams today, but definitely check us out in the future as well because we're going to be talking about even more as we get closer to the season. We're going to talk about even more teams. We haven't talked about Georgia yet. We talk about Alabama yet. We haven't talked about Michigan yet. We haven't talked about I'm about to say North Carolina, Notre Dame. So definitely stay locked with us. And if you're watching right now live, we got a couple of guys in here live. We do appreciate y'all. We are a live chat podcast. If you want to talk about a team, you want to talk about something that we talk about, or you want to comment on something, definitely do that right now. So let's get right into it. I've been rambling long enough. So let's get to our first team. We're going to talk about Vanderbilt. So Vanderbilt was 5-7 last year. So we're going to talk about their offense and their offense being led by who is their quarterback?
AJ Swan.
Say it again.
AJ Swan.
AJ Swan, there you go. AJ Swan, a sophomore, coming in second year, actually from Georgia. So, Ray, let's talk about their offense. We think about AJ Swan. We think about him as their quarterback, and overall, what do you think about their offense?
I like him. He had a nice year last year playing as a true freshman.
Mm-hmm.
Their offense was horrible last year. Their defense was not good. They were not a
It's
good team.
forgettable. It's forgettable. Yeah.
The opponents averaged 8 yards a carry against them.
Mm-hmm.
That tells you how bad their defense was. After hiring Clark Lee as their head coach a couple of years ago, who had been the previous defensive coordinator at Notre Dame and did a pretty good job there, he has his work really cut out for him playing, in the SEC. So,
Yeah, Vandy's always that like lower to SEC team that you don't really think about during the season because they get buried under all the other ACC teams very heartily, and they don't play that well against them when they do play them. So um, it's a lower end of team. The reason why they have 5-7. Actually, when I see the 5-7 record, I was a little surprised. Had a little bit more than I thought they would have. Having 5 games, Ray, do you have who they played last year?
I do.
Who they beat?
They beat Hawaii. They beat Elon. They beat Northern Illinois.
Mhm.
They beat Kentucky, and they beat Florida, which was probably their best win of the
Ooh,
year.
wow, wow, that's insane. Yeah,
And they
they,
beat them basically 31-24. So it was a close game, but they
yeah,
did beat them. So
yeah. And again, SEC teams when you play your rivals, sometimes you do know each other a little bit more, so you can't get a leg up on them sometimes, and sometimes the smaller teams be catching up on some teams. So definitely something to look at in general. But let's talk about some of the individual players. Any running backs or wide receivers that kind of stand out to you?
Will Shepard, I think he's a senior wide receiver. I think he's a good solid player.
Hmm.
Jaden McAllen is not is a pretty good player. Their problem is up front. Gunnar Hansen, who's a sophomore offensive lineman who struggled last year in
Hmm.
pass protection. Again, AJ Swan is going to be a good player.
Yeah,
I just think that he's easily the best quarterback they've had since Jay Cutler. Just a
yeah,
matter of finding a run game to complement what he does for you. And like I said earlier, their defense is just it's as bad as their offense was, their defense was worse. Because if you can average almost a first down running the ball, why would you not just run the ball?
yeah,
And
yeah.
they're playing in
Definitely,
the SEC, and that's the reason why they went 2-6 last year.
that's what I'm saying.
Even with beating Florida and Kentucky, I mean, it's
Yeah,
not good.
and those two teams were very inconsistent last year. So
Well, I
Florida
mean,
had some
you
great moments, and Kentucky,
you expect them to lose to Alabama. You expect
yeah,
them to lose to Georgia.
hmm,
The problem is they lost to Ole Miss by 20 some points.
yeah,
The other problem is they lost to Missouri. And really, they should be able to win a game like that. Missouri's not nothing special, but they
yeah,
lost to them too. So, yeah.
definitely. No, I agree. Yeah, and we talked about Missouri last year, so definitely check that out. Any players on their defense kind of stand out to you today, right?
I actually like their safeties, Janet McConey
Hmm.
and Ricky Wright. I think they're both good football players. Their corners, um, BJ Anderson is okay. He's a senior, so he's a solid player. They have a hybrid CJ Taylor, who's a hybrid linebacker, defensive back type player. They're probably their best players. And the problem is everybody I said that was half decent is in their secondary. And
Yeah.
again, if you get beat up front, it doesn't really matter. So,
Yeah, and that's exactly what you was talking about with, their best players are in their secondary, which means that teams are gonna do the opposite of pass, obviously, and they're gonna run. So they have like you said, they had trouble getting ran up on last year. So that's definitely something that we're gonna be looking into, see if they improve from that. I know Ray, you talked about, their head coach being possibly on the hot seat because, it's a tough team to kind of rebuild at this point. So we'll see. I mean,
he's 7-17 in the 3 years he's been there. I mean, 2 years he's been there. His third season. And I'm not going to say he's in jeopardy of being fired, but I
yeah,
think if you don't
if you have a season similar to this
you
one,
right, if you have a season where you're
or
2 and 6
less,
in your conference and you're
yeah,
not competing in that conference at all, I
yeah,
mean, what are you going to do? I mean, I know Vandy's not a great program, but they've had their moments where they've been pretty good. So,
correct,
you know,
definitely. We'll definitely keep an eye on that. Let's go to their schedule, their upcoming schedule for this upcoming season, and they'll be starting two games at home versus Hawaii, who they beat last year, like Ray said, and Alabama A&M. They'll be away for the next two games versus Wake Forest and UNLV. They be home for the next two games versus Kentucky and Missouri, away from Florida, home versus Georgia, away versus Ole Miss, home versus Auburn, and away for the next last two games versus South Carolina and Tennessee. Whoa. um, like we say, right? They play the SEC, and looking at this schedule, what do you think about it?
They'll probably get they'll probably. I mean, really, honestly, a good season would be 6-6 with that schedule. I mean, the thing
I say
they
four
have
or five. I'm saying
their
4
advantage. Hawaii they could beat. I'm not saying they
Mm-hmm.
will because Hawaii is one of them teams that put points up there.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama A&M they should beat. Wake Forest they could beat. UNLV they could.
I'm higher on Wake Forest than most people. I don't know, Ray. They could beat them. You're
I
right.
didn't
They
say they
could.
will. I said they could.
You're right. They could. They definitely could. But
And Missouri, and then they have a stretch of like where they play Florida, Georgia, Ole Miss, Auburn, and Auburn's not. That's what I mean, though. If they could
I
get a
would,
win against Auburn, who's down a little bit too, that could be
yeah,
the difference between them winning 6 games and maybe Clark Lee keeping his job for another year or two.
yeah. That stretch that might be an 0-6. That could possibly be an 0-6 stretch,
It
and
could.
that's a rough season. That's a rough end to your season.
Could have been.
And that's the thing too, right? It's like when you're in a position as their current head coach, right, and you your record hasn't improved enough for you to be like, all right, well, yeah, we wasn't a playoff team, or nah, we wasn't a even a solid team, but we can see some improvements. Where if that happens in this season, right, and they do go on that 0-6 stretch, it's always that what do you do for me lately, Phil? And like in this season, 0-6, and the first couple of games, you might not only you might start the season with three, you might be 3-2 or 3-4. I forgot how many. I'm my calculation not calculating right now. But if you start off the season with a just at 500, and then you end the season 0-4, that's not gonna cut it. And you already kind of like, you're not sure how this coach is go and be, and that if he don't get fired, then he's definitely in a hot seat next year for sure.
I mean, here's the thing that he has going for him. He is an alumni. He
Yeah,
did go to Vanderbilt because he went there, so
yeah,
he may get a little bit like
a
where,
little bit of pass.
yeah,
Yeah.
they'll give him the benefit of the doubt because he's an alumni and
Mhm.
he went to the school, he graduated from
Yeah,
Vanderbilt. The thing is that you're in the SEC, man, and you have to at least compete.
yeah, and this
But
is the thing, right? Like, I could see if like he didn't have a great year, but his recruiting still kind of strong. Then you'd be like, all right, I can hold on to him. But like Vanderbilt, I don't see anybody going to Vanderbilt really.
nah, I mean, again, I like the quarterback. I think he can do some nice things for you.
Yeah,
I just don't until you shore up your defense. So there's really not much hope because you're playing in a conference where there's athletes all over the place. Let's
hmm
face it, man. Like again, this was my thing when Clark Lee left Notre Dame 2 years ago, and I understood. You're getting a chance to be a head coach. You're going back to your alumni. But my first thought was, why Vanderbilt? Why not stay at Notre Dame for a year or two and pick the job you want? But
yeah.
man,
And
maybe
he's an alumni. He loves to
he
talk. He
went
does it.
there. So maybe
Yeah.
they looked at each other like, you're the guy. Maybe you can turn us around. But here's the thing: is it going to be where okay, you're an alumni, you're one of us, we're going to give you an extra year, or is it you're alumni, you're one of us, but we're not. We
Yeah.
can't do this.
Yeah, especially being in the SEC.
I
You
mean,
have to show something. You gotta show something, like So it's tough. That's gonna be a tough one. But let's move on to our next team, and we're gonna talk about this another team in the SEC. We're gonna stay in the SEC a little bit in this podcast, but let's talk about Ole Miss. So Ole Miss, we were just talking about them not too long ago. They actually started ended the season 8-5 last year, which was not horrible. That led Daxon really good. He had some ups and downs last year, but I think he can bounce back from that a little bit and be a better quarterback. First and foremost, Ray, what do you think about Daxton Dart? Jackson Dart.
Um, I like Jackson Dart.
Mhm.
I actually also like the fact that they brought in Spencer Sanders from Oklahoma State to compete against him.
Yeah,
I think
forgot
that
about that.
maybe they can help each other out. Maybe where they push each other to be better. I think it's a good move. I think Ole Miss is going to be a better team this year. I don't know necessarily if that's going to mean more wins,
Yeah.
but we know Lane Kiffin is a good offensive mind and he
Mhm.
calls good games usually. Again, it will come down to can their defense improve, basically. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree with that. So I'm gonna name off some guys too. Running back. I always struggle with this name. Elacius Bentley. I said it right.
That's perfect.
Elacius Bentley.
Yep.
Really good running back going to the senior year. I think he's gonna have a big impact on this team. One of those guys that I think NFL scouts might want to keep an eye on him because I think he's gonna be a very solid guy. He backed up Bigsby last year, so he had a solid year with Bigsby, who's in the NFL now too. So, what do you think about the running back?
Like him, and I also like Quinton Judkins, another
Yeah.
running back, a sophomore running back there. I think he's a good player,
Hmm.
along with Jackson Dart, the quarterback. What I really like though is I like Michael Trigg, their tight end. I think he's a good football player.
Hmm.
I like Michael Peters, their right tackle, Jeremy James, their right guard, Caleb Warren, their center, and Jaden Williams, their left tackle. That is why I think they're going to be a better team this year. They have experience up front.
Hmm.
We all know it's about blocking up front. I mean, that
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it's defense, offense. If you win the trench battle, you usually will win the game. And they have veteran guys there, all with experience, all talented football players. I'm expecting good things from them this year. I am.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously they are in that SEC gauntlet a little bit, so we'll see how that goes, and we'll talk about their schedule in a second. But I agree with you, right? I think this team has potential, and I think one of the bigger things that they were coming into the season was how much work was Jackson's going to be able to progress from last year. Like you said, they brought in Spencer Sanders. I believe he was from Oklahoma State.
Yep.
Yep,
Yep.
Oklahoma State quarterback got him in and he's a senior as well. So obviously they're gonna try to get him some opportunities in there too. See who wins the battle. That's gonna be a very interesting scenario to see who do win that battle. I believe it's still gonna be Jackson Dart, but we'll see. Spencer's the one that's transferring in, so he's gonna be the one that has to learn. But it's gonna be a interesting dynamic. They got two quarterbacks that can possibly be in there. Obviously, Ole Miss is known for the running game the last couple of years. So I think they got a solid foundation right now. So let's talk about the defense, right? Anybody stand out in the defense?
I mean, I like Cedric Johnson, their left end. He's a good football player.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Ivy, their senior defensive end. Dimitri Pence, their corner, nice player. Hasheem Young is a good safety. They have some
Mm-hmm.
players on defense. They're not. I think their offense is better than their defense, but I think they're good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, you come down to can their defense improve on last year because they gave up a lot of points last year. So
No, they did. So they're gonna have to improve there. I think one of the funnier things I noticed about this roster, they got an AJ Brown again.
yeah, yeah,
This time on defense.
yes,
Yeah, yeah. I rolled past. I was like, AJ Brown, what is he doing? He convert back. Wait, what's going on? But yeah, they got another AJ Brown on the team, so that's definitely interesting. He's a freshman coming in, so he won't be. Probably he might not contribute as much this year, but he is playing DB for them from Georgia too. So, um, but yeah, overall, I think the defense is probably the weakest part of this team. I think that they're gonna have to really prove people wrong, but we definitely see. I think Ole Miss has a chance to be a good team overall, though. A competitive team, and with that 8-5 record that they posted last year, I think they could get something similar. But before we do that, obviously, let's look at the roster for this year to see exactly how it looks. So they're gonna start the season out. excuse me, at home versus Mercer. They're gonna be away versus Tulane. They're gonna be home versus Georgia Tech. They're gonna be away versus Alabama. Home for the next two games, LSU and Arkansas. They're gonna be home for Auburn. Away for away for Auburn, home for Vanderbilt and Texas A&M. They'll be away for Georgia. That might be a cool game to watch. Um, Coming November for me, being so close. They'll be home versus Louisiana Monroe and away to end the season versus Mississippi State. So with that roster or that schedule right there, what do you think? How do you think they're
Yeah,
gonna fare?
I see the schedule, the record being about the same, maybe 7 or 8 wins. The improvement is going to be, can they get a win against Texas A&M, Alabama,
Yeah.
Georgia? I'm not saying they can. I'm not saying they won't. They
Hmm.
played they played Georgia tough last year.
Yeah.
They played Auburn. They beat Auburn last year. Yeah, they beat Auburn last year. They lost to LSU in a game where LSU just ran the ball right down their throat most
Yeah.
of the game, which was very discouraging. Um, they played Arkansas last year. They lost to them. That's what I mean though. Like Arkansas can't beat you if you want to be if you want to mean something in this conference. You
Mhm.
can't lose a game to Arkansas,
Yeah.
even though it was at Arkansas. But I mean, this year you got them at home. So I mean,
Yeah.
you lost to a team like that last year. You need to beat a team like that this year. That's all. So
100%. No, I agree. I agree. So for me, I'm gonna give them a good 6 or 7 wins with a possibility of 9 wins. And hear
I
me out.
agree.
So the first two games, I think they should beat. Tulane's not a team that you should sneeze at, but I think they can beat them.
Hmm.
Georgia Tech, I'm higher on Georgia Tech than a lot of people think. They are a sneaky team, so that's gonna be a good game. I think they can beat that game, win that game rather. Alabama and LSU, that's just gonna be rough. That's just gonna be tough no matter what. LSU's a team that I really think is gonna be competing with Alabama this year. Um, Even though you don't want to hear that, Ray. Arkansas, I think they can beat Arkansas. I think they can beat Auburn, and I think they can beat Vandy. So I think those three games, a good little 3 game stretch after having those 2 games right before that, should help them. Um, Texas A&M, we'll see. That's going to be push for me. Georgia, they're going to lose Georgia unless somehow they sneak up on them. Louisiana Monroe, they should beat, and then Mississippi State. Although I do think Mississippi State could or might win that game, but I think that game's gonna be closer than most people think too. So, like I said, 6 wins. I'm gonna put in the bag. I think at least, and then I think they could have the potential of at least 9 wins. So,
Agreed. I think 7 wins is probably where I would see them kind of like pretty comfortable thinking they'll win at least 7 games.
yeah.
It's the games against, like you said, Mississippi State,
Hmm.
Georgia, and not that I expect them to beat them teams, but they're the games that if you want to be relevant in this conference, you need to at least play well against them.
No,
And
definitely.
then if they could beat Texas A&M, they could beat an Auburn. If they could beat an LSU at home or Georgia Tech at home, which are the tougher games. I mean,
Mhm.
if they can win a couple of them games, maybe they get to, like you said, maybe 8 or 9. You know,
Yeah.
so
No, 100%, 100%. All right, we got our first comment in here, and Facebook user say, "What's up, crew? What's up, Facebook user?" Again, I don't know who you are. You gotta register your names on Facebook. Sorry, it is like that on Facebook. Facebook is very annoying about that, but yes, you do have to register your name if you want your name to be on the pod. I'm going to look and see who it is now, but we do appreciate you, man. Thank you for getting in here. Again, if you as you see, our Facebook user right here is in here. If you have any comments or anything you want to talk about, definitely go in there and leave a comment. You know what you think about what we're talking about, how you feeling. You know, do you feel like we giving these guys fair grades for the season? Let us know. Let us know. All right. As we move on, hey, it's Chris. What's up, Chris? thank you for tuning in, Chris. We miss you, man, and good luck with everything for yourself and everything. Um, appreciate you. All right, let's get to our next team, and that will be Washington Huskies. So let me change that way real quick. Uh, Sorry, thrown off a little bit, but the Washington Huskies are interesting team because I think a lot of people think they're going to be really good this year, and they were 11-2 last year. I think they're going to be a solid team. I do. Um, Led by Michael Penix. Ray, you already know how I feel about him. I really do like him as a college quarterback. He has some things that he needs to still clean up on and get better at. But I feel like Michael Penix a lot. They got some other guys in there as well. Ray, let's talk about the quarterback position. How far you think Michael Penix could take this team?
I think Michael Penix is one of the top 5 college quarterbacks in the league in college football this year. I like him a lot. He's exciting. He makes plays. Injuries are always a little bit of concern because he runs around, but he's a good athlete and he's a good football player.
Right.
Again, we'll get into Romeo Odunes, sorry. Jalen McMillan, Levin Polak, good wide receivers. Again, guys that he can throw the ball to.
Yeah.
I think Michael Penix is good. I think their offense is not going to be the problem. I do worry about their defense a little bit, only because, again, I look at the scores. They gave up a lot of points. But, I mean, it's college football, man. Everybody scores a lot of points right now. So,
Yeah. No, definitely. Especially with and we already talked about this, the Big 12 and I'm sorry, the Pac-12 and their defenses. So
no, there is defense in Pac-12. I wasn't aware.
What's that? It is a common theme about Big 12 and their defenses and the lack of defense there is in the Pac-12. It's only certain few teams that do have good defense and they usually are in the playoffs. So let's talk about some other players on the offense for Washington. Anybody stands out to you, Ray?
Devin Culp, their senior tight end, is a good football player. He's a good blocker. He's a solid pass catcher. I like to see him get a little bit more involved in the passing game.
Mm-hmm.
I like guys that, like, when I have a quarterback that likes to move around a lot, I need a tight end to get out there and help me in the passing game.
Yeah.
I think having that tight end open for me as a quarterback is always a good option. That safety blanket, that just somebody I can depend on to be open when I really need him to be open.
Yep.
Because we know Michael Penix would rather run. I don't want to say run around the ball, but kind of
he don't run around the ball. You said it right. You said it right the first time.
And make something off of a broken play.
Yeah.
Seems to be where he shines more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think Washington's a good team. I think they're going to make noise in this conference. I do.
Yeah, I think they will as well. 11-2 though. That's a lot. We'll see. I mean, you never know though. You never know. But it's funny, Ray? 11-2 got them third in the conference. Third. So,
yeah, well, USC was good last year.
Yeah, USC. Yep. So
I don't know it was two, but I know USC was good last year. So
yeah, Utah as well.
Utah, right? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
It's funny. Talk about like Utah is the one team in this conference that does play some defense, though.
That's who I was referring to. That's literally who I was referring to. I didn't want to say
it's funny. Utah is the epitome of what Pac-12 teams usually are not. They're good defensive teams that kind of like to run the ball and keep the offense balanced.
Yep.
You would think they would do better, but the problem is you got to outscore teams, and Utah has a hard time doing that sometimes.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now talking about defenses, Ray. Washington's defense. Anybody stands out to you?
Braylon Trice, Fatil Latula, two defensive linemen, Asha Turner, Dominique Hampton. Their safeties are both good football players.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they need to find a way to stop the run and get to the quarterback.
Definitely.
It's not always easy in this conference because I tell you what, the Pac-12 does have very mobile quarterbacks.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah. The one thing that stood out to me, Ray, is that they are very young at the linebacker position. They got a lot of linebackers, by the way. And
dude.
I know some of them are outside linebackers, middle linebackers, so they kind of like I'm looking at CBS's roster. So outside linebackers, because I think they play a 3-4 if not I'm not mistaken.
They actually play
Outside linebackers,
four,
interior linebackers.
four
Go ahead,
two
Ray.
five,
What is it?
a 4-2-5.
4-2-5.
Play a 4-2-5 defense, man. They were basically they only had two linebackers listed, and then they have Michael Powell, who's a linebacker safety hybrid type of a kid who's a good football player.
Yeah.
But again, I don't mind the 4-2-5. I don't, as long as my defensive backs can tackle, and
Yeah.
that's what we need to improve is right
Well,
there.
yeah, I think that's probably why the roster looked the way it is on my end because a lot like they didn't group them correctly. A lot of linebackers. I think they grouped them in a sense of like down linebackers and off ball linebackers in that sense. So that could be your safeties. So
And
it's
that's the part of the problem. Like they don't really have
two
any
safe two.
bump linebackers. They're kind of
Yeah,
guys that just like try to flow through the ball.
correct.
And when you only got to block one guy,
Hmm.
it's not really that difficult. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But yeah, definitely an interesting team. Again, not too much to talk about on the offense. I mean, defense, offensively, I think they're really good. But let's look at their schedule for the 2023-2024 season. And if it loads, there you go. Um, so for the first two games, they will be at home versus Boise State. That is a tough team to start off with.
it
But
is.
they are playing Boise State to start off with, and then Tulsa right after that. They're going to be away for Michigan State, home versus Cal. I'm sorry, I thought you say so. Away versus Arizona, um, home versus Oregon and Arizona State. They're going to be away for the next two games versus Stanford and USC. Dang, sorry you have to be away for that one.
I,
They're going to be home for you.
going crazy here.
Yeah, home for Utah, away for Oregon State, and home for Washington State to their rivals. So with that schedule, 11-2 back in the works, right?
Yeah, 10, 11 wins. I see that. I do.
I think it's gonna be hard. I think it's gonna be harder, right?
It's
I
going to be
really,
harder than it was last year, but I think that
I give them. I'm
the
gonna give them
one
a
thing
9.
I don't like is the dual defensive coordinator thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
William Ing, Chuck Morrell, both good coaches. One is a line, one is a front seven coach, one is a defensive back coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not crazy about that, man. I just don't.
That's
I don't
weird.
think that works, man.
Yeah.
But I think their offense will be good enough to keep them in those games. So
No, I agree. I think that is going to be the case. But you start off the season with Boise State. That's going to be a tough game. I think you still can win that game, but it's definitely going to be a tough game. We'll see how that goes. Oregon, I think Oregon's going to be a way better team this year. I'm going to give them the loss on that one. USC is going to be a tough team. I'm going to give them a loss on that one. Utah, I'm not touching that one. um, Washington State rivalry team. I think they can beat them. I'm not saying they won't. Watch that game. So that's why I'm gonna give them about 9 or 10 wins. I think it's gonna be a little bit less this year. I feel like it's a little bit more tougher competition, but I think they're gonna be in the worst of being able to compete for the Pac-10 championship.
no, I agree. I think they're a good team. I think they are going to have like a game away against Michigan State. Michigan State's not a great team, but they're physical.
Yeah,
It won't be they could win. It won't be an easy win, I don't think.
you're right.
Cal, they should beat. Arizona, they should beat. Oregon, like you said, I think is an improved team. But if you want to make noise in this conference, that's a home game. You have to win it. Okay.
Yep.
Same
Yep.
thing with Arizona State. Same thing, even though Stanford's on the road, it's Stanford. They're not a good team. This is
Yeah.
one
Stanford
year
been disappointing, man.
because they
Dave
played.
Dave Shaw still there, right?
He is.
Mm.
You're not going to beat USC. Utah, again, is a tough team, tough defense, but it is a kind of team that Washington State should outscore.
Definitely.
So, again, I'm not saying who's going to win, who's going to lose. It's a winnable game.
Mm.
At Oregon State, again, conference, tough game. A game if you want to win the conference, it's a game you need to win.
Yeah.
Okay. And at Washington State is at home. Again, that is a game that if you want to be a Pac-12 winner, then you have to win those games.
100%. Yeah. You gotta win those games, man. Not easy games, but you gotta win them. You gotta win them. And
It's
like you
college
said,
football, man. Anytime you're playing teams in your conference or like Big Ten teams,
mhm,
SEC teams, you're going to have a hard time winning those games. But you got to compete against teams, man, and you're a good enough offense
mhm,
to win your conference. Now, you are going to have some teams in your Utah, USC are
yep,
going to be tough teams for you. But if you want to make noise in this conference, and you got to compete against those teams.
definitely. No, I agree. I agree. All right, let's get to our next. Let's get to our next game, and that will be Colorado, the Buffs. Now, I'm gonna put this disclaimer, because I know a lot of y'all are probably, Colorado. Why would you pick Colorado on here? There's all these other teams that you could be talking about instead of Colorado. Why would you do so? They were 1-18. I'm sorry, 1-18. Woo, that'd be crazy. 1-11 last year. Why? Why would you do this? There's one huge reason. Two
Prime time.
words. Prime time, exactly. So, and a lot of people think that he's gonna really turn this team around. I mean, he can't be no worse than a 1-11 team, right? Right?
You can't
Come
be.
on,
No.
come on. So let's talk about prime time. Talk about his impact on his team. What do you think about this? Because I know Ray, you're a little bit higher on Colorado than I am. What's your ultimate thought on Dion and his impact on his team?
I think that Schrader Sanders, his son, playing quarterback is going to improve the quarterback play. I think I'm not even going to go over how many team players have transferred to Colorado just because of Dion being there. Deion Sanders is a winner.
Yeah.
I'm pretty simple.
Mhm.
Plain and simple. I mean, I'm not going to. They're going to win the conference this year, but they're going to be much better. I can almost guarantee that.
Definitely. Yeah, with his son being there, son's coming into his junior year. They all coming from Jackson State, obviously. Had a lot of transfers in and a lot of transfers out when this went down, and a lot of it had to do with Dion, one of his guys, and people coming through with him. Took two of their best players off of Jackson State. One of which we'll talk about in a little bit because that was a huge get for Dion when he was at the HBCU school. So we'll talk about that in a second. But as far as the offense, Ray, how do you think they're gonna fare with some players that kind of stand out to you?
Again, it's kind of hard to tell because we're talking about a new everything is new.
Mm-hmm.
Their offensive line is nothing special.
Yeah.
They have Juro Christian Uchman, who's not a bad football player. He's their left tackle. Von Wells is their center. He's not a bad player, but everything else is unknown up front.
Yeah.
One thing I know, like I said before, they have gotten horrible quarterback play at Colorado the last 2 or 3 years. They're going to get better quarterback play this year. I'll guarantee that.
Definitely.
But again, it's going to be like if you look at their defense last year, if Jerome, if I told like okay, 38, 41, 49, 45, 43, 42, 42, 49, 55, 54, 63. That's the amount of points they gave up in each game.
It's rough. That's rough.
Rough. Dude, there's some college basketball teams that score less than that. It's crazy, man. Like, wow. Like, I mean,
That's crazy.
So it's all going to be decided. And honestly, that's the scariest part. Their only player on defense is Trevor Woods that I know is a good player. Everyone else is a question mark to me.
Yes, I agree. So let's get back to the offense right now, and it's something that I'm looking at right now. Can you guess how many seniors is on this team? Is on the offense at least.
Starting,
Just in general, not even starting, just in general. Chris Thomas says they're going to be 6-6. We're going to get right into that, right? Right. They're going to get right into that, Chris.
4 seniors on the team. And that's not all starters. 2 of them are reserve.
Four. I got 5. I got 5 seniors on the offense. 5 at the entire offense.
2.
That is a young team. On defense, they have a few more than that, but offensively, they only have 5 seniors. So they're going to be lacking a lot of leadership. We'll see how that goes. Now, you have a lot of leadership in the coach. You do. So that helps. That really
And that's
does help.
my number one thing is like everybody kind of just assumes a quarterback is a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Not a quarterback. A quarterback on every team is not a leader, though.
Certainly. I mean,
They
Justin
may
Herbert.
be, well, they may be a guy that like guys will follow because they're good guys.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying that's not the case, but not every quarterback is a leader.
Mm-hmm.
I've always went by the premise that either my quarterback or my coach has to be a leader.
Correct.
We know Deion Sanders is a leader, dude. There's no
100%.
question about that.
100%.
And honestly,
Yeah.
his son is probably going to be a leader too, and he's
Yeah.
definitely going to be a leader on this team.
100%. I wanted to know. I wanted to get back to his son, so I'm glad that you mentioned him. What do you think about him? Because obviously, being on a team with your dad, had a good season last year, but a lot of question marks will be how actually good is he? He's going to be playing against better competition now, on a bigger stage now, and he going to be that guy? Is he really going to be as good as we hope that he will be?
It's not going to be as good as he was where he played last year, but he was probably the top quarterback in that conference last year, or one of the top 2 or 3.
Yeah.
He's going to be better than what Colorado's gotten the last couple of years, without a doubt.
I agree with that.
And again, he's a dual threat kid, so he's not going to try to do it all with his arm. He's going to do it with his feet too. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree. I think that I think he's gonna be successful more with his legs a little bit more than his arm. But I mean, hey man, you can't deny Sander, man. You can't deny Sander. So I think that he's gonna be a solid guy. I just hope people don't, try to overhype him and make him more than what he is. Very talented kid, think he's good, but I just hope that people don't be like, if something wrong happens, Dion's kid, what happened? What was going on? You get what I'm saying? Like that pressure, So let's talk about the defense, Ray. And again, very young defense as well. It's funny because when you're scrolling down the rosters, you can kind of see all of their numbers, especially on offense, and like there's barely any numbers on any of these players' names, at least from the CBS side of things. But yeah. So Ray, what do you think about this offense, Ray? Or I'm sorry, defense.
Again, the only one on the team that I know is Trevor Woods. As far as I know, is going to be
Travis Hunter.
What's that?
Travis Hunter.
Oh yeah.
Trevor Woods good. Travis Hunter is the guy I was referring to earlier.
I know Trevor Woods is a good football player. I mean, everyone else on their defense is like their defensive linemen are all seniors, which we would think that means they're going to play together and play pretty smart, if nothing else. I do like Charles Kelly, their defensive coordinator, is a former Alabama coach. Mm-hmm. So I think he has a pedigree and he'll have some say so. And I think the thing about him is Deion will probably let him call the defense, and then he'll just have his input on what he's seeing. I mean, that's the thing about a guy like Deion Sanders, like his mind moves so quickly that you can tell he's going to know what the adjustments are going to need to be made right away.
Correct.
So
yeah, I think so too. I'm excited to see how this this team gets together. But like you said, right? Trevor Woods, their safety is really good. Obviously, they're gonna have really good defensive backs because it's Dion. He's gonna have guys in there. Travis Hunter is probably the biggest name on the team simply because made a huge recruiting situation a few years ago when he chose to go to Jackson State instead of a lot of big teams like Alabama, LSU. I think Georgia was on his radar as well. He is from Georgia as well, so he was a huge name that they got at a HBCU team. And then when Dion came to this team, he transferred over as well. So he's a big name. A lot of people know him. Very solid cornerback, and going to be very interested to see how he does against bigger competition. Name that we could definitely look at and um, do it, enjoy seeing how
That's
he
pretty cool.
blossoms.
The Chris is bringing it right now.
Yeah, definitely.
He needs to stay healthy. He needs to not tippy toes as much. He needs to. I'm not going to say be more physical, but be smarter about how he is.
I think what you're trying to say, Ray, is he's still thinking when he's playing instead of like just playing
Correct.
natural. Yeah. And
Yeah,
it does happen,
Be a little freer and not be so tense.
Correct. And he's going to his junior year, so he should shake out of him a little bit more, especially being on the Dion for a couple. But we'll see. I think this team is going to be a solid team. Not as much as a lot of people thinking, because a lot of people are very high on them. They're going to beat a lot of teams. I'm like, I don't know. But let's get into their roster, their schedule real quick, Ray. And right off the back, playing TCU at TCU. They're going to be home for the next two games versus Nebraska and Colorado. They're going to be at Oregon. They're going to be home versus USC. They're going to be at Arizona State. They're going to be home versus Stanford. They're going to be away versus UCLA. Home for the next two games versus Oregon State and Arizona. They're going to be away for the last two games versus Washington State and Utah. So with that, how do you think they're going to fare this year, Ray?
You know what? I think they're going to win. I think they're going to be like 6-6. We do.
Okay. So I know I'm the one that don't really think they're going to be that well. So let me go through it real quick. TCU, again, TCU coming off a depleted season. So I think this game's going to be kind of competitive, but I think TCU is going to win. I think Nebraska's going to win. Nebraska's pretty good here. They should beat Colorado State, I think. Oregon, no. USC, no. Arizona State, I think they can beat them. Stanford, I think they can beat them. UCLA, I don't think they can beat them. Oregon State, I think that's going to be a good game. Arizona, good game. Washington State, maybe good game. Utah, I'm just going to say they're not going to beat them either. So that's only giving me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins, 6. Oh yeah, okay. I'm at 6-6 then. Yeah, I'm around 6-6.
I mean, the TCU game out of the boat is going to be a big game for them. At Oregon is a big game for them.
Chris says hot take they will beat TCU. Ooh.
I'm not saying they won't. TCU is starting.
I think it's gonna be a good game. TCU is new identity. They lost a lot. So yeah.
So I can see them beating TCU. I can see them beating Nebraska. I can. I think that their offense is going to be better this year. Colorado State conference game, the rival game. I think that'll be a good big game for Colorado. I think Dion will.
Yeah.
That is a challenge. You're probably not going to beat at Oregon. You're not going to beat USC. Arizona State, Stanford games you should win. Yeah. UCLA is a little better than you.
I think UCLA is going to be the one of them. I think honestly.
Oregon State, Arizona are both winnable games, and then at Washington State is an up in the air game. That will depend on how well they've played the first half of the year. If they win a couple of them up games,
Yeah, I agree. So I think it's gonna be a fun season for them. I'm very interested to see how they do.
mm-hmm.
I think all of us are. I don't think any of us, again, don't think they're gonna be 1-11. I really don't think they're gonna be 1-11. So,
that's not
um, huh?
that's not going to happen.
It's no way a Deion Sanders led team is gonna be 1-11. They're gonna
Even when Dion played on Atlanta and they were horrible,
yeah,
he would find ways to help them win games.
yeah, yeah.
I think he's going to
So
just be from the sidelines this year. That's all.
definitely. No, so I'm very interested to see this Colorado team. Again, it's kind of weird for us to be talking about 11 and 1-11 team, but I mean they're a team that a lot of people think is going to be better than a lot of people think. So I'm not super high on Colorado. I think it's going to take some time because already they had a lot of transfers, so many transfers on this team. Like I've never seen one team have a transfer in and out as much as they have. So we'll see how it goes.
I
Again,
think
I think Ray's a little bit more higher than them than I am, but we'll see.
I think that when you had the shift in the Pac-12 and teams move out the next couple
Yeah.
of years, I think Colorado is primed to be one of the elite teams in this conference 2 years from now, 3 years from now.
Hot take. Clip this part. Definitely. I like that insight right there, Ray. All right, let's get to our last and final team of the night, and that will be South Carolina. So South Carolina was 8-5 last year. A lot of people think they're going to be a better team this year. They will be led by Spencer Rattler. Again, if you don't know and haven't watched this podcast, I'm not high on that guy, but solid guy. Not saying he's not good. Solid guy. Ray, what do you think about Spencer Rattler and how he's gonna help this team?
I think he played very well last year.
Yeah, he did.
Um, we all know about his up and down career before he went to South Carolina. The one thing you can't argue though is his talent. He's a talented kid, man.
He is. He is.
I mean, he's very talented. It's
Mhm.
it's like Michael Penix a little bit in that he's really talented, but they don't have them a few plays a game where you're like, "Ooh, where'd that come from?"
Yeah.
But again, he's a talented kid. He
He,
played really well last year under Shane Beamer. He actually had a good, solid year last year. It's hard. This is really a hard team for me to predict because if I watch Rattler's talent, I think, oh, there's an elite player. And then I
there you
watch
go.
a handful of plays every game. You're like, what was he thinking there?
Yeah.
So it's this is a hard team for me to get a good feel for because, like you said, they were solid last year. They were 8-5, and they had
Mhm.
some really good games last year, and they had some really bad games last year. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's funny with Rattler because and this is the case for all players in general. But if you make a highlight tape for Rattler and you put his highlight tape with Caleb Williams highlight tape, and you're gonna be like, dude, they're like the same. Like they're amazing. But then you start looking at the bad plays with Rattler, and you're just like, never mind. You know what I'm saying? Because
like,
his highlights are really highlights. Like his
sure.
highlights are really good. Like you'd be like, oh, like who is this guy? And then you look at his lowlights, and you're like,
I know college
nice.
football fans are a little fickle to begin with, and they're kind of like
Uh,
reactionary, like most football fans. 2 years ago, dude, people thought this guy was going to be a first round pick one year.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I think if you look at his talent, you're like, yeah, you could absolutely see it.
Mm-hmm.
But then you see them boneheaded plays that you see come from him. Sometimes you're like, wow,
Yeah.
what
So
are
this
you
is
looking at? That's the thing.
yeah.
What are you looking at to make that play?
Like, all right, I'm gonna tell you is I'm gonna map out his first 2 years with Oklahoma because his first year, and this is normal because if I'm not mistaken, he started as a freshman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so his freshman year started off very slow, and as he should, it's a freshman year. He started off slow, and then had a really good end to that freshman year. So like that's where all the hype was like, oh, Spencer. the beginning of his sophomore year was okay, and then he just like got better in the middle, and then just completely like it was bad, like bad at the end, And then a lot of people was questioning him, talking about how his mental was he ready? People was questioning his leadership at some points, things like that. So after he transferred last year, um, he had a pretty decent year, getting away from that Oklahoma limelight, because I think Oklahoma has a bigger audience than a South Carolina as of right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it kind of helped him. But we'll see, because again, we did see the good, the bad, and the okay with Mr. Rattler. But like I said, you put his highlights together. First rounder. But then you look at everything else, you're like, fourth, fifth? Because like you said, right, at first we was like first rounder. And then by the end of his second year, we're like, can he even be a fourth rounder? Like, it was rough. It was rough. But
problem with him is that his mechanics are so sloppy that when his mechanics are really off and not sure, he looks lost.
I think that's a part of it too. Is like when we was like a lot of people was talking about how his leadership was, and in leadership, what comes with that is discipline. And sometimes guys are just athletes or just so good in high school that they're like, I don't need to worry about my fundamentals, or they don't practice their fundamentals enough, and then it catches up to them, like it does.
The funny thing, Jerome, is, and this is never good, is when you compare quarterbacks from college to the NFL, it's not. You heard the Patrick Mahomes comparison, dude. That's never good, man.
I hate when they do that, because they're doing that with Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams is a beast. He's a dog. He should be a first round pick and stays first round pick.
Oh, he will be.
But like comparing to Patrick Mahomes, maybe Patrick Mahomes coming out of college, and even then, like nobody really knew about him coming out of college. Like,
no, there was a handful of guys that really fell in love with him.
Yeah.
Apparently, for good thing for Kansas City, apparently Andy Reid was one of them.
Yeah, see something in him. So.
I don't like. You know what I don't like about comparing him to Patrick Mahomes? Patrick Mahomes does so many special things off script. I don't want my quarterback to think he can do that.
Yeah, I don't want you to feel like that's a normal thing.
Right. I want him to do it if he can, but I don't want him to think he can do it.
Yeah.
Like Patrick Mahomes is thinking when he makes the plays, he's just playing them.
Correct.
And they come to him. That's fine. Don't think you're going to be Patrick Mahomes, because when you do, you're I'm trying to think of you're not good. I'm trying to
Johnny Manziel.
What's that?
Johnny Manziel?
A little bigger, stronger version of Johnny Manziel. Yeah. Johnny Manziel, that's a good. Not the same. This guy's bigger and stronger than Manziel.
Yeah.
But you do see the Manziel thought he was the next thing, and it went right to his head.
Yeah. No, I agree. So we'll see how that goes. But let's get back to South Carolina offense. Who kind of stands out to you on our offense, Ray?
Juice Wells, Xavier Leggett, their wide receivers are good football players. They're probably the best player. Jaden Nichols, their left tackle, is a really good play. Vernon Lee, their junior center, is very good. I wish they had more that I could depend on in the run game. I do, but their wide receivers are good, and their offensive line is pretty solid. The only thing I worry about their offensive line is they have two seniors, and the rest are all young guys. But your left tackle is a senior. Your center is only a junior, but he's a very good football player. Mm-hmm. So I like a lot about them.
Yeah.
I like it. I wish that I wish there was a running back that I saw here that I can depend on a little bit more to give me some.
Chris says for every Mahomes, they're saved.
Yo, man, let's not put Flutie in that category.
Yeah, leave
Flutie was a great college player, man.
Luke Flutie was the guy. He was the guy.
He
He
was.
just
You know
didn't
what?
get enough
In
chances in
today's
today's
football,
football.
Doug Flutie would be a good football player.
He played in today's football. Yeah, he'll be.
He would. You
Yeah,
spread everything out where he can create his own passing lanes by moving side to side. Doug Flutie could play in today's league.
100%. I think Flutie never really got a full chance because he's so small. Honestly,
That and the
really.
fact that you knew. Plus, here's the other thing: you can't hit quarterbacks anymore. Back
Yeah,
then, a 5'9" quarterback was going to get hit.
yeah, yeah.
Now, with the way things are all spread out, multiple set wide receivers, Doug Flutie was a smart football player, and he
Mm-hmm.
was athletic, and he could make plays. He is fit, made for today's football.
100%. 100%. I agree.
Plus, the thing that people don't understand is Doug Flutie can sling the rock, man. My man had an arm. It's like kind of like Russell Wilson. When you watch Russell Wilson play, you thought, well, his arm is good, but no, his arm's really good. Doug
Yeah,
Flutie's arm was really good. He was
100%.
really athletic. His
Yeah.
problem was that if you kept everything in front of him, he didn't see everything.
Mm-hmm.
So moving him around like they do in
Yep.
today's football is made for him.
Yep. No, I agree. I agree. Chris, put some respect on Flutie's name.
Yeah, man, they named the cereal after him. Come on.
Definitely. All right. Let's talk about South Carolina's defense, man. Obviously this is their bread and butter. It's been NFL talent the last couple of years on this defense. What do you think about their defense, Ray?
Marcellus Dial, their senior cornerback, Nick and Murari, their safety, and DQ Smith, their other safety, are all good football players. This is where I love South Carolina. I love their defensive backs.
Mm-hmm.
Every year they'll throw a guy at you that's new.
Yep.
Cam Smith the last couple of years. Of course, we know what team he's on.
Yep. Oh, he whooped at the tat. He whooped at the tat.
So, I mean, that's,
Cam Smith. You got what's his name? Son. He plays for Carolina now. Blanking on his name. Dang, I hate
Golden
when I do
Brown,
that. Yep.
who used to play for the Eagles, was a South Carolina guy.
Mm-hmm.
For running back, is also South Carolina is also one of them teams that they produce some decent, solid running backs.
Yeah.
But they don't have anybody on this roster that excites me though.
Yeah, this is one of those years that South Carolina, you really don't have a guy like that as far as running back, so they're gonna have a role.
Deuce Staley, man.
Huh?
Deuce Staley.
Deuce Staley. Yeah.
South Carolina, man. Love that guy.
Eagles. Yeah, right now. Yeah, I'm actually still sad that he's not on the roster, the coaching staff anymore. But Chris can attest to that, right?
He's in Pittsburgh, right?
He is. I think he's in Carolina. He's in Carolina
now, huh?
Yep. He's with what's his name? Running back.
Deuce is one of my favorite college running backs, man.
Yeah.
Love Deuce Staley, South Carolina, man.
Yeah.
So good.
So
good.
With,
Of course,
Miles Sanders.
Great Sterling Sharp, South Carolina grad.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy who should be in the Hall of Fame, but
Joe Horn's son. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, he went to South Carolina too.
Yes, dang. Can't remember Joe Horn's son's first name, but yeah. Is it Joe Horn?
They always produce some good players in South Carolina. They do. I'm a fan. Yeah. I'm a fan of their team. I've always have been. It's funny, when I was a kid, it's weird because I've always been a Notre Dame fan, but I didn't like Alabama, but I respected Alabama. And I respected Bear Bryant from Alabama. And I respected Penn State. And I respected Joe Paterno at Alabama. And I think they were like the three teams that I kind of followed all the time. I rooted for Notre Dame, but I thought my dad was always a big
J.C. Horn. I'm sorry.
J.C. Horn, yeah. My dad was always a big Penn State fan. So I kind of followed them. And, man, I tell people all the time, people don't. I had this argument with somebody 2 days ago. To me, there'll always be Alabama, Michigan, Notre Dame, USC.
Mm-hmm.
You can say whatever you want about who's winning national titles now. To me,
Those are
that's
the pillars.
that's the
College
Mount
football.
Rushmore, dude.
That's the
That
pillars of
is the
college.
Mount Rushmore of college football to me.
I agree. I agree. Another reason why I like Michigan, people be like, "Why do you like Michigan?" And like, dude, they have such a good history, man, and
I hear
they've
them
been always been a great program. Like, despite recent years, outside of the last few years, they always been a good program. Everybody knows them. You can't forget about them. So,
I've had people ask me why are you a Notre Dame fan? You live in New Jersey. You're from Bucks County. I'm an Irish Catholic, man. Who am I supposed to root for?
yeah, I hear you. I hear you. All
That's
right.
simple.
No, you're right. All right, let's get to South Carolina's schedule. Again, like I said, last year they were 5-7, and start the year they're gonna be at home. First two games versus in UNC and Furman. They're gonna be away for Georgia. They're gonna be home versus Mississippi State. They'll be away for Tennessee, home for Florida, away for the next two games at Missouri and Texas A&M. They'll be home for the last four games, which is going to be Jacksonville State, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and Clemson. So if you like your team, you got a good little stretch there at the end. But looking at their schedule, Ray, how do you think they're going to fare?
I see like 7 wins, Jerome.
Mm.
I do. If they can beat a Texas A&M, a Tennessee, maybe they're not going to beat Georgia. Like, I mean, if they keep that within 10 points, it's almost like a win for them.
Yeah.
But North Carolina is a team that they could beat, but not an easy team. It's a team they could beat, though. Furman, they should beat. They're not going to beat Georgia. Mississippi State, possible. At Tennessee, there's a possibility, but I think Tennessee's going to be a good team this year.
We're gonna.
I don't think so. I think
in a second.
Florida's a tough game for them. Missouri, they should beat. Texas A&M, again, is a loaded roster. Jacksonville State, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, they should win all them games. And I don't care. They're playing Clemson. I don't think they'll beat Clemson, especially not there. So Clemson, I think 1, 2, 3. They're going to see like 7 wins.
Yeah. I'm about the same, Ray. I really do. I think that they're gonna be a solid team. I'm giving you about the same, Ray. So I get 1, 2. That North Carolina game, they can lose that game. They really could. They're gonna be home
again. That's a big game because they win that game.
That's gonna set them up.
Then they can knock off if they can beat Tennessee, which I don't think they will. But if they can win that game and then beat a Tennessee or Florida, then they can have a really nice start of the season. If they lose that game, then beating Tennessee is probably not going to happen.
So. Yeah. I mean, at least they have a little bounce back game with the Furman game. But like you said, Ray, I think that it could be a downward spiral if they don't win the ones they're supposed to.
They lose to North Carolina, and then they lose. Say they lose bad to Georgia, and then they lose bad to Tennessee. The season's over.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm not predicting or expecting them to compete for the SEC. I'm not. Yeah. Well, South Carolina has always been a good defensive team.
Yeah.
Who does good enough to win 8-9 games.
Yeah.
I think them getting the 9 wins this year is almost impossible. I can see 7 if they win a game against Texas A&M or against Tennessee that they probably shouldn't win. Maybe they get to 8 wins, but I don't think so.
Definitely. No, I agree. All right. Well, to close off this podcast, we got a comment from our guy Chris, and he asked, and I guess it's toward me, but I'm gonna ask you first, Ray. What's your thoughts on Harbaugh's suspension? So I don't know if it's 100% official yet, but it was rumored for first first 4 games. Yes. So we're gonna talk about Michigan in future episodes. We're trying to save those type of teams for closer to the season. But I'm gonna look at their schedule real quick, Ray. But what do you think about this suspension in general?
I don't remember off the top of my head who they were, but I know it's like their first 4 games are all pretty easy games.
Yep.
So that probably won't hurt them win-loss record.
So here it is. We'll continue. East Carolina, UNA. I'm sorry, LV, Bowling Green, and Rutgers,
Right. So
and they're all home.
yeah, so there are games that they pretty much should not really have much.
Yeah. So this is the thing, right? I'm gonna let you continue. Let you continue. Then I get my thing.
No, I don't know what to say about it, Jerome, because I just heard recently about all this.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what I've
I
heard.
think it's yesterday. I heard it. Okay.
I heard it yesterday that he was being suspended. I read a little bit about it today.
Yeah.
I read about the allegations. I mean, man, if we're really going to make it that stringent on when you can talk to players, then honestly, again, you've opened up the can of worms with all this NIL and this transfer portal crap. Okay, so I mean, I'm not going to fight the system because I'm just going to get beat down by it now.
Yeah.
But again, you've opened up a can of worms, and you know what? If this would have happened to an SEC team, oh, I'm sorry, it never happens to SEC teams. I forgot about that.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna put my quick.
They cheat down there so much that people don't even pay attention to it anymore.
Yeah. I'm gonna put my quick thought on it. Is it disappointing? Yeah. But this recruiting stuff happens all the time. It's really about how you get caught. Harbaugh, he's very transparent with what he does and what he says. I would not be surprised if he said something himself and somebody was like, wait, Harbaugh, you're not supposed to do that. Like Harbaugh is so transparent. Like he'll slip up and say certain things. Like he won't maybe say directly, but he'll say, like, you'll see it. Like that's why the whole thing about him going to the NFL was such a thing, because he wasn't really hiding that. He wasn't really hiding it. And he's that type of guy. He's not gonna really hide what he does. If he's gonna kind of let it kind of be known. So not surprised. It's only the first 4 games and we're gonna be home against teams that we should beat anyway. And it's at the perfect opportunity, because if you're home and your coach is not there, it's the easiest way to still coach. It's literally the easiest way to still coach. You have everything you need right there. Yeah. So he might not have. I'm pretty sure he's not gonna have any contact with the team for the first 4 games or whatever. They're gonna be fine. They're gonna be fine. As far as the team wise, I'm not concerned about it. Is it disappointing because it's our name's reputation or our team's reputation? A little bit, but dude, I feel like this happens all the time with recruiting kind of stuff. He just happened to get caught. So unless he did something egregious, which I think it would have been a lot more.
You mean like giving money to people?
Yeah. If it's something like that, I think it would have been a little bit more than just 4 games. So, in my opinion, it wasn't a huge topic. Chris, you did put it out there, so I decided to talk about it. But I'm not concerned about it, and we'll talk a little bit more about it once we get to Michigan and their schedule. A little bit later on when it's closer to the season. But yeah, I'm not too concerned about it as far as the team wise.
I wouldn't worry about it at all, Jerome. Like I said, I just thought that honestly that kind of coaches all talk to all these players.
Yeah,
I did. I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
Again,
I don't know. I don't know every rule. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know every rule. I just know that most SEC teams break them all, but no one ever says nothing about it.
Yeah, but that's gonna do it for us today, guys. We do appreciate y'all being on with us. Please make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Right under there, where Ray is, there is the right there. That's the URL code. Definitely scan that and be on here. And if you have comments, we're going to be talking about a lot of good teams upcoming. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when we are live and we talk about these good teams. Ray, should I spoil some of the teams for next week?
You can.
Or let them be in suspense. What are we doing?
Good.
Bullet. All right. Next week, we'll be talking about Wake Forest, Arkansas, UCLA, Ohio State, Mr. Chris. We'll be talking about Ohio State, and we will be talking about Tennessee next week. So stay tuned because there's some really good teams that we're going to be talking about next week. We're going to analyze their teams, analyze their play, and how their season is going to go. So if you want to be on there, obviously like, subscribe, hit that notification button so you can listen to us. Let us, and again, interactive podcast. So as you've seen, our guy Chris, thank you for getting on. He interactions, ask questions. We put them on the screen and put them up for you guys. So you can do that as well. If you can't watch us live, we we do respond to every comment on our YouTube channel. Once you put something on there, so you go to the replay, watch that on there, and we lift it on. I'm gonna try to get a guest star next week. Don't guarantee it. Don't quote me on it. Maybe it can be Chris. Maybe Chris can come on. So definitely keep it locked with us. We definitely talk about that. And hey, man, hope y'all have a good rest of the week. I know you guys are anxious for some football. I know I am. I can't wait. So definitely thank you guys for tuning in with us. Coach Jerome Jones. That is Ray Roberts. Thank you guys again and again. We really do appreciate everybody that watches. Thank you so much, and see you in the next one. Peace.